and welcome back to ALEC TV. My name is Andrea Burrow, and on today's episode, we'll be hearing from a recent alumni from the ALEC program, Haley Bickelhaupt. Haley graduated from the University of Illinois in 2023 and now works as a broadcaster in the Quad Cities for the news station WQAD. Recently, she was able to come back to campus and talk to our chapter of the Agricultural Communicators of Tomorrow about what it's like to be a broadcaster and her life since graduation. Today, we're going to continue that conversation with Haley.
Like you said, I studied ag communications in college at U of I with a concentration or emphasis in journalism. So when I was there, it was a little bit of a different program, but you had to pick either advertising or journalism, and I went the journalism route. Lots of different things in college. I was in 4-H House, a cooperative sorority, and then I worked at Vet Med in the communications department, and then I worked for Dr. Roberts for a little bit. I'll come back to that in a second because I think that kind of gets into the ALEC TV. But then I also was in ACT. I was in National ACT. What else? Good Morning Illini was some stuff that I worked on. I'm trying to think. There was lots of other things. Oh, Delight Ministries was a big part of some stuff I worked on in college. So lots of great things to be busy with. But then, yeah, my last year of college, I had the opportunity to intern with Dr. Roberts, and he graciously let us be pretty flexible in what we wanted to do. So I didn't call it ALEC TV. I guess that's what it is now, but did some video work for him and really enjoyed it because I had taken some broadcast classes that I really liked. And now I guess you guys have made it into something really great, which is really cool to see.
Mhm.
That was not my intention, but I guess it turned out.
So has journalism always been something that you were really interested in, or is it something that the more you studied it, you're like, wow, like I can really see myself here?
I've always loved telling stories, talking with people. I always loved writing and just connecting with people. I just love people. I think that's really what drives me. And so I think going into communications was just something that I was like, I need to do. And then ag communications was just obviously where I wanted to be. But I did take a journalism class. It was offered in my teeny little high school for a couple years, and I loved it. I loved being able to quote people and just share what was going on. And so, like I said, I think I've always been wired to kind of do it, but just didn't know. I remember one time a friend's mom, I was telling them what I was going to college for, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to see you on TV one day." And I'm like, I was laughing. I was like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what I wanted to do. But yeah, I took some classes that let me be a reporter at Richmond and just got connected with the team there, Ken and everybody, a great group. And the more I learned, the more I knew I really knew absolutely nothing. And
Yeah.
I mean, I learned that every day. I think we all do. But yeah, just kind of opened up my eyes to some of those opportunities. But again, wasn't really sure what route I wanted to take, which kind of led me some different directions, but now it's kind of back into that spot.
What other parts of being an ag com major help you in your current job or your first job out of college?
I
Mhm.
think just being able to communicate to a wide variety of audiences is so great, especially if you are interested in agriculture, because it really hones in on those skills that you need to have to communicate complicated scientific topics, but at a level that people understand. And I think that's not an easy thing to do, but our faculty at U of I do a great job of teaching it. And so I think that that's really great. I think just the professional development and the connections and networking that you get is extraordinary and has helped me time and time again in my career just starting out. And so I think those are a couple of the things. I just think, yeah, getting to cast your net into a couple different things. I took some social media classes, some advertising, also just laid some groundwork for some great things in journalism that then later helped me when I was taking higher classes. So I think there's so much to learn and so much to see.
So you worked for Illinois Corn right out of college. What did you do day to day there? And what kind of things did you learn, freshly out of college, working full time for an agricultural company?
Yes. So the role I had was a newer role. So their day to day was a little bit different. A lot of what we were doing was just staying updated on policy impacting corn growers, which is honestly a lot of things. It might not seem like it to someone
Yeah.
that hasn't done a lot of policy work, and I haven't done a lot of policy work, but there's a lot of things that impact people every single day that happen in Congress or in Springfield or, now I covered, Iowa, Des Moines, like there's a lot that goes on. And so staying up to date, I worked in political communications. So or policy communications, I should say. So just writing press releases and staying engaged with our membership. Those were some of the day-to-day things that we did. And so sometimes that took us places like DC or Springfield or other places, like we would go to Commodity Classic and events. But I would say just transitioning out of college and into a full-time job is a big transition. I know
Mhm.
a lot of my colleagues and friends right now have also been undergoing that. And, that takes a lot of change. And so I think just learning to work more regularly in office environment, learning to just know what's going on in the world, working in policy or news, like being up to date on some of the news and things happening is important. And sometimes there's other stuff going on in college, so I don't think we stay quite as up to date on those things. But and just learning how to survive as a person and an adult
Yeah.
outside of college without your friends nearby, always a big adjustment. But Illinois Corn was a phenomenal place for me to just kind of get going right after school, and I'm so thankful for that opportunity.
Mhm. And now you work at WQAD, which is a news station in the Quad Cities. Am I right?
Yes,
Yes. So
correct.
what did your previous job help you to, hit the ground running at this job?
You know, working for Illinois Corn has benefited me time and time again now in my new role, from just connections to people and for interviews and understanding the United States and Illinois' political system and like how legislation works is so helpful. And I'm no expert by any means
Yeah.
at all, but just having a little bit of that understanding has helped me in so many different ways. And like I said, just those connections, I can't say enough of how thankful I am to have had that opportunity, and how it just continues to grow my understanding of what goes on in the world every day impacting people.
And what really excited you about like seeing this job posting and, how did you visualize yourself in the role when you were applying?
Just thought, man, I know I want to get back to journalism and broadcast journalism. And I just had prayed about it, and like it just felt like that was a time to start applying. And so this was just one of the places I had applied because it was close to home, and I didn't really know where it was going to go. You kind of just cast your nets wide, and
Yeah.
they got back to me pretty quickly, and I just loved when I came to the station. I just loved the people, and I thought it was a great opportunity. And, it was intimidating to see myself in the role because I hadn't done a ton of reporting like for broadcast. And so being an MSJ, there's a lot of different things that go into that. And so it was
Mhm.
a little scary. I'm not a super technical video person. And so, or like don't have a huge video background for doing that myself. So that was a little scary, but that our staff here has been great in just helping and understanding. And so now just even going into more of some of the producer anchor roles too, just learning a lot has been really helpful and great in my current role.
Mhm. And something that I really thought was interesting when you spoke at our ACT meeting was the group dynamic of working at a news station and how, everybody is a part of this big machine. And if everyone's not doing their job, you know, the show's not going to be what it could be at the end of the night. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, I love this question because it's really one of my favorite parts of news, I believe, is the team dynamic that you go through every single day. And just like you said, you did a great job of summarizing. If one person's job, if they're not doing their job well, or if it just doesn't go well that day, it impacts everybody. And so, yeah, if your reporters are having a hard time getting interviews, or there's something that happens where they can't get content in, that's going to impact your producers and your anchors. And if your producers, they're struggling to get the show put together because there's breaking news and something that can't get written, that's going to impact your anchor, and it's not going to look good on screen. And if your anchor is having a hard time with something or doesn't feel good or something, that's
Hmm.
going to make the show and the product not look good to the viewer. And so, and those are just a few of the people. I mean, there's directors, there's management, there's just running the whole newsroom. There's a sales team. Like if these things don't work, it's not a complete thing. And I know I'm sure like you probably grew up on sports teams and working together with people. And so it's just a fun dynamic, but it just shows how, integrated everything is. And you have to help each other out, because if you don't help each other out, sometimes it doesn't end up well, and you just all want a good show.
Hmm. Are there people working, in the news station that you're like, man, I could see myself doing that role instead, or, moving around a little and seeing where you fit best?
Hey, there's a lot of really great people that work in our newsroom. I say every single day I learn something from so many people. I will say our evening anchor, John Diaz, has been super helpful for me and just really encouraging. He's a phenomenal teacher and he does a great job as such a natural deliverer of news and just connects with the viewership well. And Shelby Kluver, she isn't that much older than I am, but she is just a natural at what she does. She engages an audience so well and just is a phenomenal journalist. She was an MSJ and now does a lot of different anchoring roles and just is a great reporter. She just really respects the integrity of news and wants to tell good stories and just be really accurate. And then my friend Jenna Webster too, she's again not too much older than I am, but is just a phenomenal storyteller. Like all of the stories she puts together have such um a news tie, but such an emotional appeal. And so I guess those are just people that there's so many other people, but those are just people that I learn from every single day. And just want to continue to do some of the things that they do in their work because I just admire it so much. There's been so many great mentors and people that have when I was looking into this job, I had a really great mentor, Colleen Callahan. She graduated from U of I and she was in ag broadcasting. And her and her husband both just kind of told me, if you want to do it, like take the chance. And I think that was so instrumental, excuse me. And just when I look back on the last few months, because it's like, you know what, you're young. If there's something you're interested in, take that chance. I just think that that's sometimes you got to be in one spot to get to another, and that's been super helpful for me to understand.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about broadcast journalism. See you next time on ALEC TV.